Princess Lyra and Princess Kessara were twin daughters of the celestial sovereign of the Ether realm, a dimension existing alongside normal space where beings of immense power lived in isolation for millennia. The Ether folk were considered gods by some species, myths by others, and deliberately avoided contact with the mortal realm to prevent chaos their presence would cause. Lyra, with blonde hair that shimmered with inner light, and Kess, with brunette hair that seemed to absorb shadows, had spent centuries learning to control vast abilities, reality manipulation, energy projection, healing, and the kind of presence that made mortals instinctively defer. But they'd also spent those centuries hearing stories about the mortal realm. Worlds of endless variety, species creating meaning through limitation, civilizations built on cooperation rather than individual power. The stories fascinated both sisters. Lyra was drawn to mortal creativity, how they built culture, art, technology without innate reality-bending abilities. Kess was fascinated by stakes mortals faced, how they formed bonds knowing they'd end, fought for causes knowing they might lose. Both wanted to see the mortal realm for themselves. Their father, the celestial sovereign, forbade it absolutely. "You are too powerful. Your presence in the mortal realm would be catastrophic. Species would worship you, fear you, fight over you. This is why we maintain separation, not from arrogance, but from responsibility." The Etha Council agreed. The last time Etha folk interfered significantly, thousands of years ago, entire civilizations rose and fell in chaos. But Lyra and Kess had heard the stories, felt the curiosity, and spent centuries being told they were too dangerous to experience the universe beyond their isolated realm. They'd made a decision. They were going anyway. Their plan was audacious. Suppress their powers to near mortal levels, disguise their true nature, enter the mortal realm as travelers seeking to understand rather than conquer. Visit one world, experience mortal life briefly, return before anyone realized they were there. Their father recognized determination that mirrored his own youth. He couldn't prevent them without imprisonment, which would violate the autonomy that made Etha folk more than just powerful automatons. So he offered compromise. "If you're determined, do it with my knowledge. Suppress your abilities, take mortal forms, but accept a guardian, Seer Raylan, to ensure you don't accidentally cause the catastrophes I fear." The rules were strict: no revealing their true nature, no using significant powers except in life-threatening emergencies, no interfering beyond what ordinary travelers might do, and they must leave if their presence caused disruption. With powers suppressed to merely exceptional rather than godlike, and appearances altered to appear as standard humanoid travelers, Lyra's blonde hair still shimmered slightly. Kess's brunette hair still absorbed light, but both could pass as unusual rather than supernatural. The sisters descended into the mortal realm. They chose Haven's Reach, a coalition frontier settlement attracting species from dozens of worlds, diverse enough that two more travelers wouldn't draw excessive attention. What they discovered was both more mundane and more profound than expected. The mortal realm wasn't grand cosmic drama. It was millions of small interactions, individual choices, ordinary struggles that collectively created meaning. They needed currency. They needed to communicate through language. They experienced hunger, fatigue, physical discomfort, sensations they'd never felt. Their beauty attracted attention initially, but as days passed, something unexpected happened. They stopped being just the beautiful newcomers and became actual people to the community. Lyra volunteered at a medical clinic, using knowledge of biology. She couldn't heal with powers, but understood life in ways mortal doctors didn't, to help diagnose difficult cases. Her genuine curiosity, "You accomplish healing without reality manipulation," endeared her to staff. Kess helped at a community center supporting families affected by conflict, providing counseling and practical assistance. Her ability to truly listen made her invaluable to people processing trauma. What made greater impact than their beauty was their genuine interest. They asked questions without condescension. They helped without expecting worship. They treated beings of far less power with respect that shocked mortals expecting dismissal. A human doctor named Sarah eventually asked Lyra, "Where are you from, really? You know too much to be just a traveler." Lyra, remembering the rules, said carefully, "I come from a place where problems are solved through different methods. I wanted to understand how people solve problems when they can't just fix things easily. Technically true, while omitting she came from a realm of near-omnipotent beings. After 3 months, the sisters had become genuinely integrated. They'd helped the medical clinic expand, supported families recovering from conflict-mediated disputes using skills learned in a realm where perspective spans millennia. They weren't treated as gods or threats, just as exceptionally helpful community members. Then disaster struck. A catastrophic reactor malfunction threatened to kill hundreds. Standard evacuation wouldn't work in time. The sisters, watching mortals they'd come to care about face death, were presented with exactly the scenario their father warned about. Use significant power to save lives and reveal their nature, or maintain cover and watch people die. They didn't hesitate. The power they unleashed was controlled but undeniable. Lyra stabilized the reactor with reality manipulation no mortal technology could achieve, while Kess shielded populated areas with impossible energy barriers. They saved hundreds in full view of witnesses who now knew they were far more than travelers. Some reacted with fear. Some began treating them as gods. The coalition demanded explanations, but something surprising happened. The people they'd lived among for 3 months stepped forward to defend them. Sarah spoke to investigators. I don't know exactly what Lyra is, but I know she spent 3 months learning mortal medicine with genuine curiosity. She didn't come to rule, she came to understand. The fact that she saved us proves that. A Veldari father added. These beings could have remained hidden, could have let us die to protect their secret. They risked everything to save people they had no obligation to protect. That matters more than fear of their power. The sisters revealed their truth. Beings from the Ether realm who wanted to understand the mortal realm beyond ancient stories. Lyra said, we were told mortals were fascinating but dangerous to interact with, that our power would corrupt relationships. We wanted to know if that was true. What we learned is that mortals judge beings not just by what they are, but by what they do. We've spent 3 months being judged by our actions. That judgment is more fair than anything we expected. Kess added, our father feared our beauty and power would overwhelm mortal judgment. But what made the greatest impact wasn't how we looked or what we could do. It was that we chose to be here, to learn, to help without expecting worship. That we treated you as people worth understanding. Years later, Lyra and Kess still lived on Haven's Reach, working openly as Ether beings. They'd become bridges between realms, teaching mortals that beings of vast power aren't automatically threats, teaching Ether folk that mortals aren't too fragile for interaction. When historians studied the moment when millennia of separation began shifting toward careful interaction, they noted it started with 2 sisters whose curiosity outweighed caution. But those who lived through it knew the deeper truth. The sisters could have overwhelmed mortal judgment with beauty and power.